I am. My checks, February and March, is it?
I saw it sitting on Angel's desk yesterday.
You did. Why didn't she put it in the post?
It is getting taken care of.
All right, I need help.
I would just need to follow up with her.
Huh?
Make sure she gets them mailed out.
Yeah.
If she doesn't go back to celebration tomorrow, you may need to drive over there again.
What? We did texting back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I checked with her, because I saw it on the city.
I think she needs my text.
Yeah, we're just saying I can do it.
Okay, what you call it's done here, okay.
Pretty close.
Yeah, what's up?
Well, I'll tell you about it. Hold on just a second. Nick from Benchmark is, having an emergency and we're here until like 25 minutes after the meeting begins. So he's wondering if we can adjust the agenda.
Yeah, we were actually gonna ask if we can move the district engineer because he has to leave right away to go pick his dog.
Did you see that, hear that?
So that works out well.
So they said that we can move the district engineer's report up front, so that hopefully by the time he's done, you'll be.
Marilyn,
Yeah.
Angel just said that,
Okay.
your check was mailed.
Oh, it was?
It was mailed today,
When?
she confirmed.
Oh, today, oh, okay, good, both of them?
Yes.
Is Brenda
Okay.
on there?
She's not, Angel's on Zoom, I don't see anyone else yet.
Ask her for both.
Because I had a couple questions. Brenda.
Yeah, maybe go ahead.
Yep. Yeah. She can hear.
There she is.
Hi, Marion. Yes, everything that you turned in has been mailed.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Sorry for the delay.
Yep.
Carol, did you have something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was really for Brenda, because it had to do with first the workshop minutes.
Uh-huh.
Line 142 to 144. I'm not sure I indicated two options. I mentioned two options, but I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. The indicated word is a little gives a flavor to things that I don't think I intended.
Okay.
So, and then on line 247 of the workshop minutes, I think there's a mistake because it says something like that Mark and I would benefit greatly. No, we would pay more. So I think there's a mistake there.
Okay.
And then on the regular meeting minutes, line 256. It says 3, 4, and 4 million. 3 million, 4 million, 4 million. So I think that's.
Oh. That's probably not right, huh?
And then line 4, there's a word missing. It says Mr. Eckert and Mr. Eckert, the district.
Okay.
So maybe said the district. I'm not sure.
It's a nice song.
Carol,
Yeah.
can you take a picture of what you just read and just shoot it to me in a text, and that way I can make sure it gets corrected and you guys can approve as amended.
So Angel is my.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's gonna be difficult to read, but I'll do it. You can tell me if it's legible, I'm gonna send it to you.
I will. And she'll go back and listen to the audio as well, just to confirm.
All right, it's coming through.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's all my points. There are two that say Brenda.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Chairman, Angel?
He's gonna be open Zoom tonight. Oh.
Okay, there's a number of invoices where maybe we have a leak from Toho.
Show me that, because I was on a call with Toho this today.
So, there's like 4 invoices where it was $1,000 or more,
Yeah, so what,
and now they're much smaller.
I discussed that, so there's actually a pattern that runs for like the last 2 years where they spike and then they dip down. And we looked into, or Benchmark, I say, looked into, the irrigation team looked into leaks, there's no leaks going on whatsoever. I noticed it again today when I was going through the check register, because it comes up and down, and it seems to be consistently across those months where it doesn't. And so she was looking at one from, it would have been October, November, that spiked, next month it went down. Same again and spiked up.
We need to contact Toho because
I've got another phone number that I can ring as well to express more concerns, because there was just a pattern where that was just, it does make sense a little, because that's why I said to us, so we looked at the usage data and that kind of thing, and so sometimes it was 500,000 gallons and then it went down to 30,000 gallons, and then it's like,
usage through Toho or usage through our systems.
no, through Toho, that was Toho was giving me that, and these were actual readings as well, and so I'm like, it doesn't.
Also,
Expected, but. It's never expected.
so I think. Things are just lining up. Do we have extra batteries?
Hmm.
Batteries. Sounds like I'm talking about a vacation.
Just, yeah, so it'll just.
We couldn't get it. So you went on a cruise 2 days before and then the 10 days, cruise, then 2 days after. Yeah, so we got 8 points.
Testing. Testing.
So are you Jerry?
We'll find out. Mark is supposed to be dialing in.
I don't believe he plans on running it from there.
Okay.
So you can do it or we cancel it to you.
All right.
Hi, this is Mike Eckert.
Good evening.
I think Dan, I don't know if Jennifer told you, if Mark's not feeling really well, he won't be joining at all.
Okay, understood.
La La Land.
I'm so bad too.
I could tell.
Oh, I lived down in the elementary school. Friend's apartment. I'm the one that says the guard. So they're doing a trip to Africa and just trips.
Yep.
Yeah, but I wondered anything. But it's just, it turned out to be. So I guess I. But then. They're gonna.
Nice to meet you. I'm sorry to hear about your ankle.
Mark will not be joining us.
Is he on now?
Oh, no, he is.
Dan,
Yes.
Nick Lemansky with, Benchmark
Yeah,
is
I
gonna
heard.
be,
He's running late.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Put Angela, we're gonna put David ahead of that.
Yep. Okay, so it is 6 p.m. Go ahead and call. I will call this meeting to order. I don't have a gavel. We don't have a gavel, so. All right, at 6 p.m. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Harmony CDD. First order is a roll. Supervisor Castle.
Present.
Supervisor Shatanis. Supervisor Phillips. Here. Chairman Lemanager.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, excellent. Good to hear from you. And if you'd like to run anything, feel free to chime in. And otherwise, I will, Vice Chairman Leet is present and we'll run it in the meantime. All right, so we have full attendance and for the person. Next item is, okay, next item is audience comments. We'd like to limit it to 3 minutes, please. Able to speak to anything on the agenda tonight and not have a back and forth, but we'll give you the chance to speak. That goes for anyone on Zoom as well. Audience comments. Anybody on Zoom? Looks like we don't have any residents on Zoom right now. Okay. Next order is staff reports. Usually Benchmark Landscaping would be first, but Nick is running late, so we're going to move our district engineer's report up first, as I understand you need to leave.
Well, that changed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so Nick isn't here either way, so if next would be field manager's report, if you're ready to go. We'll circle back to the landscaper once Nick gets here.
Hi, my name is Jorge. I'm the field service supervisor.
Can you give us an update?
Huh?
Can you give us an update?
You what?
An update?
Oh, well, we've been trying to start grinding with a more shortened staff, trying to get someone here. And we start grinding again. And we have grinded around 60 more panels. The splash pad, we're still waiting for the
Monitor?
papers. I don't know
Right.
where we at with the papers to complete the contract, or if I have to call Pulsure again to get chemicals. And
He's referring to Ecolab with the, so
Right,
we'll be
with the
speaking about
chemical
with, yeah.
Maintenance, okay.
Yeah, I think district council will probably talk about that and I can raise some issue with that, but yeah.
and
You continue to use Paul Shore until.
okay. And when we get all that together, after we have to call the Florida Health to come here and be safe to use again. And they check all the pools are good. We have the report from them again. And working and keeping the community clean. We're gonna start cleaning again the drains before the rain start. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Going through the, well, what's it called? The
Monthly report?
monthly report, right? There's a couple items on here. It said it needed board input. I'm just trying to find where they went on here. Okay, follow up with board members. This is, the fence was removed, need new installation. All right, I don't think that, I'm sorry. Was there anything that, from this report that like needs board discussion or input on to proceed versus?
In the field service support,
Right,
we working to get everything one by one, but we are we still in the one before, in the report before. Yeah, because we are like short and trying to get everything together. Yeah. We
When you
have
say
one.
short, are you saying that you're missing people now?
yeah,
I see.
We're missing one. Yeah, and I'm coming here on the Saturdays to cover that space that we have. Yeah, I'm working those hours.
okay.
And the other days we had staff from either Celebration or our other field team were here until that position is filled.
Okay. All right, is there any other questions from the board for field services?
Well, it's kind of a field services district manager question.
Right.
Are these monthly items that we see in the agenda all on the task list? The, what is it called?
The project board,
The work, the what?
the project board?
Project board, yeah.
No, only the major items.
Mhm.
So, but we can add them on to if you would like us to.
Well, they're in the monthly report and they're items that need to have action taken on them, so I'd like to see them in the
We
monthly
can do
report.
that.
I mean, I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I'm only one board member.
Curious as to, are these recommendations, things that we should do and take care of, or are they actively getting fixed?
Yeah.
So are these just being brought up to our, to notify us that these things need to be fixed, or what are these things?
Yeah, we're gonna start fixing them when we get the other person, and we're trying to cash. If we have the community clean, we're gonna start cashing them one by one. Yeah.
So my recommendation is, I know these are product free monthly meeting, but if we can put those, like basically what Carol's saying, put them
Okay.
on the board list, maybe with a picture or link to where those are located at. and
Okay.
we can, like an action. Okay.
Okay.
Close them out, and this was done, and then move on to the next one where we can kind of keep track of these things, because it seems like there's a lot of them and they
Yeah.
keep popping up
Mhm.
on the radar.
Yeah, I'm gonna work with Howard and to let him know where we at with each item.
Thank you for bringing these up this morning. Appreciate that.
Okay.
And some of them do seem like they require board input versus just items to get done. Like there was one about, we don't, it's issue 34, it's on page 31 of the agenda. No surveillance system at front entrance action, a proposal for a new surveillance system will be submitted. So my thought is before Jorge goes through the trouble, or somebody at the district manager's office goes through the trouble of getting a proposal, or more than one proposal, hopefully, is this something that we are committed to? Because I recall that we had a proposal several months ago for some surveillance systems that then was never really discussed and fell wayside.
Right, and I think that can come up later. There are, when it comes specifically to security systems, I believe there are rules on what, or maybe like exceptions for needing to fully discuss and describe in a public meeting versus what can just be done with district manager or chairman discretion.
I think when Nick brought up the damage.
Oh, right, yeah.
Thing, the timer or whatever.
I can hear them better through your phone than if I was actually on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
So.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd like to make a quick comment. Lucas, you want to check your microphone because I can't really hear you at all.
Come on, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Turn the mics up, is that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit better.
Here, you want to try this one?
I tried a different one.
Yeah, it sounds very fuzzy and broken
Okay.
up.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, I know Howard, I don't know if he has something during the district manager report. I know I reached out to a vendor of that provides security.
That one sounds hot.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
Off while you're putting it out. Thank you.
So specific to security cameras, I don't know if Howard, if you're gonna have something later on to. or
Yeah,
if
well,
it's-
you bring up something that was in the past, so there were
Yeah.
proposals for security systems. And did reach out to a company, Flock Safety. So Flock Safety basically have camera systems which really only deal with incoming and exiting traffic and catches their.
If we could, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Howard, but if we're gonna go into camera locations and things like that, that are even proposed, we should be doing that in a private session. So again, my apologies for interrupting you, but I don't want to go too far afield of what we're allowed to talk about in a public meeting.
Right.
Sure, but thank you for that, Mike.
Okay,
And so that's as far as it got. And so it's just really board direction on proceeding further with, getting more proposals and comparing those proposals and going from there, really, so.
and getting back to the, did you have anything else, Supervisor Castle, for field services?
On the project board, I had a comment, but it's on a different.
Okay, well, so did I want to make sure you were done on.
Just that if we are going to be discussing something like that in a closed meeting, it needs to be kind of scheduled on the agenda,
Right.
right? It hasn't been.
Right.
That's all I have.
Response to Aaron's inquiry. So when we do those field inspections, if it requires board input or board approval, in the action item, we'll just put that. Requires board feedback, input, whatever, rather than, proposal for new system.
Right, and so like for the fences, I know it says requires board feedback. We, took direction to remove the derelict fences, several months ago. And would take board, setting aside money to, replace those. I guess on a different one, issue 8, the action is recommendation, and it says like maybe a fence needs to be installed, but there aren't any proposals or anything else other than just saying recommendation and having the picture of it. I understand, if we're understaffed, there's only so much we can get done right now, but yeah, that was, we would need more, I guess. I don't know if you have anything else you can speak to the issues with that telecommunications equipment there and.
And I have a question. What is this?
That's
Some form of telecommunication.
the telecommunications. Yeah.
It is AT&T.
Okay,
Yeah.
the reason I'm asking is because around the south side of Buck Lake Pond, that long pond,
Mhm.
where it goes all the way around behind the dark sky houses, near where it turns by the school,
Mhm.
there is one of these, and it is water is coming out of it. I don't think that's appropriate for a piece of telecommunications equipment, do
Well,
you?
is it maybe a drainage structure then? I mean, if it looks.
It's
I can't really see this.
Telecommunication, yeah, and bow.
I know there's, okay, yeah, looking at this, if there's like openings on the bottom,
Mhm.
maybe the top of it looks like a phone,
Yeah.
panel or something like that.
Mhm.
But if it's drainage, then, yeah, I guess we need more information on what,
This telecommunications.
but if it's drainage, I mean, does it still need a fence around it? Is putting a fence around it going to interfere with the drainage function of it? I mean,
Yes.
we need a little more, it says recommendation. I guess we needed to know a little more to give
Well,
that guidance.
this one's next to the playground, but the one I'm talking about is this goes around.
All right, Joe, do you have?
I had a question on item 36.
You and more. Well. it's
Little
like
Blue
this-
Lane and the cars parking. Let's see here, on the CDD property, and it says recommendation, boulders and sign installation. Had we made a decision on that before, or is this the first time? Seems to me we talked about it, I can't remember, but I'm wondering if blocking it off is the best choice. Maybe we should put gravel there and let them park, otherwise they're gonna park in the street.
We've talked about boulders before, but usually in the context of like the alleyways. If we're talking about Little Blue, that is.
Number 36.
Mhm.
Right,
Page 32.
which. And I
Yeah,
understand
page
there's
30.
construction happening along there as well.
But we already have such a parking situation with people parking in the streets. which they're entitled to do. But why push these people into the street? Because that is, I don't think it's not in front of anyone's houses.
No,
No.
And so we could just put gravel there. I mean, I'm not gonna say let's pave it, because that would cost too much. But maybe we could just fill it with gravel as an alternative. It also cut down on how much you have to mow, not that that little bit would make a big deal,
Good
but,
check.
and it's just an idea.
I have a
so.
question about it, though. Are these vehicles part of the construction crew or are they residents? Because if they're construction crew, then it's a temporary
No.
situation. If they're residents, it's a different
Residents.
story.
Yeah.
But maybe they're displaced by the construction.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
Maybe we, put
So
rules on it.
It's hard to tell, but I think they are residents' vehicles. Because they seem to be there a lot.
I think this did come up once before.
And I can understand the congestion that you've got with the streets, because they are congested, and that is a good option
Yeah.
to try and allow more parking for them rather than deter it and create more problems somewhere else.
Right,
No, I don't know that we need to gravel it now. Maybe gravel it when it becomes.
Okay, yeah,
necessary.
so yeah, keep an eye on the issue and again, seeing the recommendation would add that we want to consider, gravel or some other kind of grading to maybe not deter the parking, but also just keep it looking decent.
well, when I said gravel, I just meant so they could park there.
Right, right.
Mm.
So,
One last thing, I wonder whether these small trees that never flourished and that are leaning toward the ground can just be cut off and we don't really need a proposal, we just chainsaw it off at the base.
One of them fall already and I remove it. And one tree next to the 38,
Blue Lane,
yeah, fall
It's
and
the
was
page,
dry
yeah,
and remove it. So I
33.
removed like 2 already. That
But-
they fall and we're covering the sidewalks.
No,
Yeah, see, almost
yeah,
all
are we
these trees,
required though to maintain
no,
tree canopy there?
I don't think so.
So
I know there's a county ordinance. but-
No, we were approached by Benchmark to have them removed because they were not flourishing, they were
Uh-huh.
terrible. I don't think, but it's not a street,
Okay,
it's
Okay,
not a street tree. If we want to
Alright.
plant something, we can, but meanwhile, these
yeah, no,
are not looking good.
no, that,
But a proposal from them is gonna be a couple $1,000s, I mean, they're like, this big around, they're
Yeah.
small caliper and can just cut them off at the base and,
They're getting dry and it's
Yeah.
easy to remove.
Fort Hagen is getting them out.
Okay.
okay, so is there anything else for the field manager report?
just this, I don't remember where it is, but it was to, it was the playground, it was a playground somewhere where the grass had what my husband used to call bulldozer blight, just people walking. I think it's
This is Middlebrook.
Middlebrook, yeah.
Issue
Do
7.
you know which one?
Oh,
7? I just think replacing the grass is a foolhardy.
It's issue 10, 9.
Well, it says the
8, 9,
proposing
10.
Bahia seating
Yeah.
versus sod. If it's issue 7 we're talking about.
I'm kidding.
So it looks like there's a few issues
Yeah,
right around that
7,
area.
yeah.
8 is the
Yeah,
drainage
it's-
structure, 9's the rail, 10 is the ramp.
Yeah, so I think we talked about this previously, but I actually brought it up, I think a couple meetings ago, but yeah, it's destroyed because of the kids and stuff. So I think what Nick recommended is, I think for winter you said rye and then put Bahia down, but
I think it's still,
yeah,
it's gonna get destroyed no matter what,
yeah.
and we need to think of another option.
Okay, well, Nick has showed up. So if there's nothing else for field services. Okay, then we'll thank you, Jorge. We'll go ahead and go to Nick for our landscape. update.
Hey, guys, my apologies.
Good evening.
No worries.
Oh, no problem.
Nick Womasny, Benchmark Landscaping. So, I turned in a couple proposals. One of them was for the edging. And, we can review that. It was around 500 feet. But it will do all of the, annual beds. the circle drives and in the, or the roundabouts and in Harmony Square. And we ordered 10 kits. Because on the corners of the square, they're not rounded, so we had to add a couple of kits for the corners. For that, the annual, go ahead.
I was gonna say, that's page 10 for those of you.
Yep.
Yeah, agenda page 11, actually.
Oh.
Yep.
We don't know what the edging looks like. Why is it necessary?
I think you guys had requested it. It's just a black 5 1/4, black edging,
Plastic?
final.
Somebody requested.
So I asked to get the edging around the flower beds because of the
Talked about it.
washout of, sorry, of the
Mulch.
mulch looks a little sloppy in my opinion. So this is just on the roundabouts, you're saying?
All annual beds.
All annual
So
beds.
it'll be in the entrances, east and west, at both of the signs on both sides and both of the roundabouts and the square. So all flower, I think it was like 500 feet, like 485, 490.
Yeah, it says quantity 1 foot, no?
No, it's.
Yeah.
I measured it, I put that one together, so,
Yeah.
I mean.
But
it-
for future reference,
Mhm.
under quantity, it should be how many feet, and then under price per unit is the price per square foot, or
Okay.
linear foot, I should say.
All right, we'll do this.
Thanks.
Okay, do you have any questions for Nick before we consider these proposals? Yeah, and Mark.
I like it. It's $2,000, but
Okay,
I think
well,
I'll
let's-
make the community look a little nicer, more clean. Prevent the washout of the mulch and the flower beds, prevent weeds growing in there.
No, it won't prevent weeds growing in there.
It won't prevent the weeds from going in there, but it will keep it uniform. It will stop if there is washout. It will prevent the mulch from getting in there.
Okay. Well, let's go through these in order. The first proposal 97871, which is for the fire ant treatment. Do you have any I mean, do we want to discuss these separately?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve all three.
I'll second that. Do we have any further discussion on the three proposals in the agenda 97871 for 2,290 for fire ant treatment? Proposal 98556 for 3,500 for the annuals as budgeted, and 98919 for the edging for 2,215 and 24 cents. Is there any other discussion?
Yes. Do we have a second though?
I did.
Oh, okay. Here's another request. You say all 7 playgrounds, parks within CDD property, and it's great you have 130 square feet. It'd be great to just mention where these are, just so it's specific, and again, it's quantity. Yeah,
Just more details.
yeah, just more details.
I'll put more details in the proposal.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
But it is for all of the parks here.
okay.
okay. Not hearing any other discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep, that's unanimous, so motion passes. You have anything else, Nick, for
We did have to put in an emergency proposal for 2 mainline brakes on Caprider. We have to use a slump grinder to get to them because of the roots. We submitted that today. If with the approval, we can get started on that right away. That's unrelated to the other issue. But
When
the-
you say other issue, the
With the-
3344 cap, right?
Correct.
It's the 2 that are where they're sod already?
One of them is and one of them is not. One of them, because when we check that system, we don't just check where the sod went. We check the entire road, right? So with our IMC, one of them was discovered and it was outside of where we put new sod. The other one was after, when we put a bunch of water on it, we put, the new nozzles. It's not a complete, but it's kinked. And there's no pressure and it's due to a root and I have to cut it to replace it.
Well, if they're sod there, it's pretty urgent.
Right, that's why we
Considering
submitted
not
it
getting-
today.
Yeah.
It was turned in earlier.
Yeah.
So do we need to take action on that now? Is it within the?
Action's already taken, so I went ahead and signed it and got it approved today. So it'll be ratified at the next board meeting.
Okay.
Something I would like to bring up as well with regards to landscaping that Nick and I have talked about, which was the soccer field.
Mhm.
That was something that was talked about in the last meeting.
Mhm.
And the conversations that I've had with Nick, and I'd like him to elaborate a bit more on this, because he's the expert when it comes to this. But everything is done, what can be done to it at this point in time, to my knowledge, and we're looking at replacement. So there was obviously conversations had with it's looking patchy and, you know, lots of weeds coming through and what have you, so. Can you just provide some sort of?
Do we want to finish out the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
Oh,
okay.
yeah, we voted and approved.
Oh, you did? I didn't hear the final
Yeah,
approval.
it was unanimous.
Yeah.
Thanks, sorry.
Yep.
So
Are
with
we
the
in check?
soccer field, we proposed this when we did the pocket parks, the renovations. I can relook at it, see if we can sharpen our pencil a little bit and look at all options for replacement again.
Question.
Okay.
I noticed that the area in the verge between the entrance to Buck Lake Park at Catbrier and Pond Pine does not seem to be getting any water and hasn't for many months.
Okay,
It is irrigated, is it not?
yes.
Well, I'm wondering if the soccer field is also not getting irrigated adequately.
Well, we put new plants in right around the actual pump, so it's been tested. It's just, it's worn out. Even with all the water. Weeds are doing better there now than the actual turf, and it's used a lot, especially in the evening hours. We review it, we know it's working. A couple of months ago, you pointed out a break there, we've repaired it, we checked it then as well. I just think with the full sun and the years of hard use, it's at the end of its road with that turf there.
We discussed last month about the condition of that soccer field and how we need to do something to prevent this from, I mean, maybe it will happen, but maybe we can lengthen the useful age of it by closing the soccer field, for a week.
I think
every-
someone I think brought it up that we closed it down for like a month a few years back. Why? Because everyone was using it and it was being abused basically. So I think that's something that we can entertain, maybe seed it potentially with maybe Bahia and close it off for a month, maybe during supposed to get some rain in the next month or two, hopefully. So those are the options I think we should probably take first before we go ahead and replace everything. I know it's a great facility. I play there as well. But I think we should probably take some more, just smaller steps first.
Remedial action
Yeah.
and replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to actually make one comment on this. I was very surprised to hear that you don't seed it with rye at the beginning of winter. That was certainly something we did year after year. And it sounds like somehow that slipped through the cracks and no one just, the procedure of seeding it with rye at the beginning of winter seems to have gone away. I think that would have actually helped things an awful lot.
And maybe seeding it with both rye and Bahia, since Bahia takes 6 months. We
Correct.
seed both at the same time. The rye comes up for the winter, and by the time the rye starts dying back, the Bahia should start filling in.
What I can do is I can look into seed options and as far as when to do it, when to apply it. And I can present that next time I come.
Yeah, we definitely though need to remember rye at the beginning of next winter.
November. Yeah.
And is a broadleaf herbicide being used on it
We,
currently?
we know,
No.
we're not,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's
there's too many weeds,
too many what?
too many weeds in
many
it, it
weeds.
would be just dirt.
There. Mhm.
All right,
Did we
and
just
then
have one soccer field? I thought we had two.
just to the one. My last question would just be with the practicality. I mean, as far as closing it off, I mean, I guess that's a discussion you can have with Howard on, I mean, is that setting up caution tape or something like that. I mean, we don't really have a way to enforce that. I'm not sure if we have any. Carol, if you remember if what we've done in the past.
We
but
did
that's-
put up stakes and caution tape, but it didn't keep people off. People would just either break the caution tape or just step over
So
it.
we would need to have that in mind with, considering the practicality of trying to close or limit use of the field for some period of time. To weigh with any proposals we're looking at.
We'll
Well, we
set
could
up some of
also-
those surprise sprinklers, the motion detector sprinklers.
Oh, they could go to the next slide. Could we consult with or talk to the soccer organization? They might be willing to help, say enforce, but to encourage people to not use it during the closed time.
They're not here, though. They're not gonna be here if we're closing it. They're not gonna be here to enforce it.
If
Well,
we
I
do it
meant
with
the
Ryan,
parents and the kids in this community, don't they have a soccer program?
Yeah, but if we're closing the field for a period of time, they're not gonna be there using it.
They won't, no, but they drive by.
But we can get the word out ourselves.
Right, right, but I mean, coming from them, if they see a group of kids, they can go and say, hey, you're not gonna be able to play soccer next fall if we don't let this grow. I mean,
Mhm.
reason with people.
Well, there's
instead
peop-
of them thinking we're.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that live across the street from the field that can see it's taped off. I'm sure people are gonna probably do what they want anyways, but at least we can try to
Well, I
put
think
caution
that's
tape
all.
and.
Sure, but I just want to make sure that was weighed with any proposal that we don't. That we don't have any proposals that that's critical that no one goes on that field when we don't have a way to 100% guarantee that.
yeah, I would definitely propose for like November, when I have the help of rye seed, it takes like 14 days to germinate, and that'll like protect our seed that we want 6 months down the road.
Yeah, that's what we used to do in the past. We would close it down for a couple of weeks in November while the rye took seed, and that seemed to work quite well.
Okay, so why don't we plan with that? I mean, we haven't had any rain in like 2 months.
It's brutal. Yeah, when I leave here, I'm going to turn on.
The grass is gonna
Okay.
grow when we get rain again.
Okay,
I'm sure it'll still be
okay.
ugly, but we can revisit it in November and close it off, try to revamp
Exactly.
it.
Right, so.
Please add that to the project board, so it's something we can remember come November.
But when's the soccer season?
Well, that's November. That's still several months away. I don't know if there's anything remediation wise that's worth considering in the interim.
We can shoot for late October, but it's been weird lately.
Yeah, I think that would just be throwing good money after bad.
And you said the irrigation on the soccer field area is good.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have new plants there. We have to monitor it.
Okay,
We also, that's where we had some vandalism with some broken sprinklers.
right.
So even off the IMC, we've been monitoring it.
Okay.
Agendas, if anybody wants them.
Up on the table here. Okay, do we have any other questions for Nick in landscaping?
I have one more.
Yes.
A couple of months ago, I was asked to submit the pictures for the 192, the trees. Last month we did, I'll bring it up. I just want to know if we're gonna close that one out, and
Well, did we see any pictures or any kind of
we
representation of
did
what?
send them. I think last week we decided to talk about like the sod or versus the seed application at some of these parks.
Okay,
And we just didn't bring it back up.
so I don't remember seeing that in the agenda at any point. Jennifer, do you know if that was, or Howard?
Yes, it was. I can't recall the exact proposal number, but it was, I believe, in March's agenda.
I'm sorry, I missed it. I was handing out agendas. What are?
That was the question of, at the entrance, I believe the west entrance, of lifting some of the trees that
Right,
were
we didn't
overgrown.
follow up with it. It was on last month's agenda, but we went off onto a different project. And I was just.
The trees by
revisiting.
the school?
No, by the one that,
Oh, by the fence.
right, we had submitted the pictures, and I didn't know if you guys had enough time to look at them.
They were overhanging like to the ground, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
With the, I know we went a couple of times. I submitted the pictures. I
Yeah.
just wanted to bring it up because we
Yes.
did lose it.
Yeah, so I think the problem wasn't so much that there was a big risk to the fence. It was just that there was other foliage underneath the trees that, saw palmetto and things like that, that
Right.
might get crowded out or shaded out because of the trees. Personally, I don't know that we wanted to spend, it was $5,000 or $6,000. I'm not sure
Right.
if we wanted to spend the money on that as opposed to refurbishing areas that the residents really see. So that's just my opinion though.
Yeah, Nick, if you want to bring it up at next meeting, bring some pictures again of what it looks like. I don't recall.
Yeah,
exactly.
I've looked through the last couple of agendas and I'm not seeing any kind of if there's like a rendering you sent or something or pictures representing what it would look like. I don't know that any of those got into.
I think there were some actually in this month's monthly report, no?
They do continue to appear. The only shrubs I am concerned about would be the viburnum, and the trees on the back alley road, so to speak, would be the magnolias.
Yeah, you were concerned about them, but I wasn't convinced that those oaks were the problem for those magnolias.
And it could be something that we revisit in the fall.
Okay, so yeah, between you and Howard, it's, yeah, we will,
31 and 32
okay. So yeah, we can look
and
at
30.
considering that next time. All right, anything else for benchmark?
Well, on number 30 has the tree branches touching the wires. Who approaches OUC to get them trimmed?
Isn't it our district manager?
We can approach.
Great Myrtle trees on the
Okay,
west
I didn't know
entrance.
maybe that was something benchmark did, okay.
And I just have one more update. The sod has been installed. We're just waiting 30 days before we put any chemical on it, and that would close out the last phase of that job, which is putting one application of fertilizer down the Schoolhouse Road, Caprior, and Five Oaks.
Well, you've got some areas where sprinklers aren't working.
Right.
And my feeling, this is just my feeling, is that because there was supposed to be an irrigation review and that area was supposed to be working, and now that it hasn't been working and we've lost grass there, it's my feeling that Benchmark should take responsibility for those areas because now they've had several months of no water and they are really struggling. And so the water needs to be, the irrigation needs to be repaired, and Benchmark needs to do something to refurbish those areas since they have not had the benefit of irrigation for several months, even though we were told that that area had been reviewed and was working.
The area where the sod was, that's why we put that.
No, I'm talking about like the area around 3344 Caprior. That's not working. That's clearly hasn't been working for a while. You can see that there hasn't been water there in months.
We will investigate it.
Yeah, just that block there.
Right.
That whole block right there needs to be looked at. Because
Okay.
I think that it's missing irrigation, and also by the small dog park, that block there between, what is that, Buttonbush Loop or Brackenfern and Primrose Willow, the verge there in front of the park where the dog park is,
Okay,
on Catbrier, that looks like it hasn't been getting water either.
we will look at both of those.
Okay, it doesn't look as in bad shape as the area in front of the houses.
Okay.
South of that, but
We will look into it.
thank you.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, if that's nothing else for Nick, thank you very much. Next item.
Have a good evening, guys.
Thanks, Nick.
Watch your hand. District engineer, David.
We're skipping. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, we did
You read-
field manager already.
Yes.
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. David Hamstra, District Engineer. I have 5 things to go over this evening. First is the status of the Osceola County review of the lakefront maintenance facility. They're still lacking an engineer, so they're still lacking giving us complete comments if we go back to the original concept of the community center lakefronts. Blazing Star Lane, you had asked me to get a second bid on the asphalt millings option. The first one I got was like $60,000. I finally found a contractor who's comfortable doing that size project. The other ones I called, this was too small of a project for them to be interested, so I got another contact that we use a lot who's interested in submitting a bid, so I'll have that ready for next meeting, so. I'll just touch upon with Carrie and I, Vincent and Jorge met with the Club Pro, or what's his top general manager at the golf course, at the golf maintenance facility on May 10th. We got the tour inside and outside, made some notes about what can be done, expanded, quarantine in different sections. And so when that topic comes up in the future, we'll have a site plan if needed to talk about what options you guys have if you end up acquiring that facility. The alleyway inspections, your prior engineer in 2020 had looked at 6 of the alleyways. 2 have since have been corrected or milled and resurfaced. There are 2 coming up that he thought should be revisited, which is neighborhood A1 or Ashley Park, and neighborhood G, which is Green. We're going to look at those the first week of June, report back to whether or not they can wait another year in lieu of getting that on a milling and resurfacing program. Last thing I have is you had asked us to see if the permits from Harmony West, if South Florida Water Management District has the same criteria on them on keeping control of the Old World Climbing Firm. Catherine's back from vacation, and I'll have her give me a full report on Harmony West, if they're held to the same standards as you guys are in keeping that under control. And that's all I have for this evening. If anybody else has any questions or?
Okay, one more thing for you. Bathymetric survey bids.
For what area?
Long Pond, especially
Yes,
near the
you're right.
bridges.
I dropped the ball on that one.
No problem. Do we, we'll also hear from Catherine about whether we have met our own invasives management goals.
She will have a maintenance report forthcoming, and they'll outline in there based on her transects whether we're getting close to achieving or have met the percent removal or removal of the nuisance species.
I have.
So I just have a, I guess, some of a supervisor request or information that, on Clay Brick, where the tunnel comes across, there's a road that runs perpendicular to the tunnel that goes under 192. So the kids get out of school, mainly the middle school kids, and they come out and they're like crashing, falling off the road because they're just coming really fast. I would like to put a request in to see what it would cost to put a ramp on that sidewalk where that road runs perpendicular to the
You mean on the verge, just a ramp on the verge, or? What do you
you
mean?
know where the tunnel is, right? So it's just straight out of where, yeah, so I guess
Yeah,
the verge
Claybrook.
there. Yeah,
And it's a pretty tall curve, if I remember.
it is. And so all the kids are like racing out of there. Some of them have like electric scooters and people are hanging on side of them. One of the neighbors and parents of the kids that have crashed with multiple kids, it's like a traffic jam there. They fall off that curb, and so they're basically just requesting what it would cost to put a ramp there off of that large curb.
Is that a county road though? Clay
Well,
Brick?
the road would be county, but then the CDD, I mean, trying to pull it up here. CDD owns, it looks like most of the sidewalk, but then the road jogs out where there's that pull off area.
Yeah, Dan's got it pulled up over here.
But still, from the curb to the road, the curb is CDD, but the road is county.
Right.
So but
that's-
he's asking to put a ramp on the road.
No,
No.
it would be on the,
He's going towards the road.
yes, it would be on the sidewalk. So there's, the sidewalk goes this way, the tunnel is this way, and then this, obviously the curb is there. So a ramp that would go down into the,
That would be on the CDD property.
yeah,
The ramp that would go from where to where? From the side?
from the sidewalk to the county road, I guess.
Right,
The
yeah,
Clay Vic
right
Road.
now, there's the county road and that
it's-
includes a pull off, and
Yeah.
then there's a curb, and then there's our sidewalk and that whole tree lined area
Yeah.
that goes along the ramp.
I'm sure I'm misunderstanding,
It's a
but
tall curb, so. if
Yeah,
we
so
wanna
the
do
curbs,
anything to
the curbs
alleviate-
here, the tunnel's here,
Yeah.
and then the road's
Right.
here.
yes, I
So
understand.
just to
but
put a,
Right,
We're still talking about a ramp onto the curb.
no,
I
we
mean,
can't
onto the
build out
road.
onto the road. We
Exactly.
would dig out a ramp onto our sidewalk.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see, like a curb cut.
yeah,
Yes,
We need a curb cut. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes
to
more sense.
form a ramp, but yes, by excavating ours rather.
yeah, you would
since we
take
can't
out a
build
portion of the sidewalk and you would
Curb cut.
put an incline.
Yep.
Ramp up and
curb.
down the sides and up to the tunnel.
Right,
So that's,
thanks, Dan.
I wonder if that's something that our field services could manage?
Not sure.
All it is
No,
really cutting
Dave
some
was interested.
concrete, digging out some dirt and then relaying the concrete.
And next time I'm out here, I'll meet with Jorge and Carrie, and we'll see if we can divide and conquer, if they can handle it. So
It shouldn't be too hard.
okay. All right. Well, school's out next week, so this will be the time.
Even if that ramp has to go all the way across the sidewalk and onto the cement that comes out from the tunnel. Just to meet the ADA requirements.
There's
for
probably
flow.
are some requirements which
Mhm.
you're probably
Okay.
aware of.
We'll look into
Okay.
some spike strips and other stuff. Okay.
Severe tire damage. Anything else for our district engineer?
Thank you for the joke, Dave.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Next would be district council. Mike Eckert is on Zoom.
Hello, thank you, board members. Three items just to mention to you. Number one is we did provide some information to your district manager regarding the district's requirements to identify goals and objectives, as well as identify performance measures to determine whether you met your goals and objectives. And then also you're going to have a report due every December that goes on your website that says whether or not you met your goals and objectives. So we're not going to do any more work on that issue. We're happy to, but we've kind of, I think, transitioned that to the manager to take a look at that and try to figure out a way to provide that to the board in the best possible way. And they're going to have to do this with all their districts. So it's probably best that they, have some uniformity in that. So that's the first item. The second item is we did have a couple of conversations with bond counsel on the golf course maintenance facility. And we'll talk about that more when we get to that agenda item. And then the third thing is we've been going back and forth a little bit with Ecolab in terms of the form of their agreement. I thought we had a good call today, and thanks to Howard and Angel and their team for working that issue with us. We're waiting to hear back from them on 6 different items that really relate to insurance, termination of the contract, early termination fees, and things like that. So hopefully we'll be able to make some progress on that next week with them. So those are the 3 items I wanted to report on. I'm happy to answer any questions the board has, but we really haven't been working on anything else.
Okay, and I'll just say for the audience benefit, the Ecolab, that was a contractor that was actually present at the meeting last week, and right at the very end of the meeting, we chose to engage with them for chemical maintenance for the pools. They have some automated equipment that would make that a more predictable maintenance item, and that also includes a splash pad, which was, I believe, one of the last issues that we had for getting that up and running. So while this is has dragged out, we've mentioned maybe looking at Pool Sure if that's something we do in the interim to get up and running, because it's hot out there. But as we've heard, that it sounds like we're close to getting that underway, which would cover the splash pad and the pools.
Right,
Chemical maintenance.
Yeah, so Paul Shaw will be continuing the chemical maintenance until we get this Ecolab agreement sorted out. And I just wanted to put on the record that District Council has done a really great job in protecting the CDD's interests in this. So although it's taking longer than I personally anticipated, it's to the credit of Mike and his team. They've really stepped up and protected the CDD. So thank you for that, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you, Howard.
Yeah, I'll just a couple other notes. The Ecolab gentleman was Harmony resident as well, and it seems that this new process will be more efficient and cost effective for us. So.
Right.
But a question, at the last meeting, we were told that the monitor for the splash pad wasn't working, and I don't know if that's been addressed.
So that was still, I followed up with Jorge earlier this week and it's still on back order to be delivered, so.
I see.
it-
So, but Ecolab is not responsible for anything except for essentially chemical delivery and chemical balancing.
Correct, making it safe to swim.
Yeah. So anything else, we're still waiting on that monitor, and then once the monitor's in, we'll see what else is broken.
So this time.
Can we at least turn the splash pad on?
The last time.
We can't because the water is, the water does not meet health department standards.
So
Is that correct, Jorge?
it runs, not on the timer dancing thing, but it runs, but it's not safe right now with the water.
That is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it's with it being, and yeah, I understand that we have the ongoing maintenance that we're trying to get queued up and taken care of by Ecolab. Is there anything that makes sense to do in the interim?
The field staff, and Jorge can correct me on this, but field staff has done everything they can to get that system ready. So they've done all the testing that they need to do. The tanks are all clean, waiting for more chemicals to be delivered. Once we get that monitor in there, we can test it, and then Florida Health are gonna have to come out and test the water like they did with the other pools to make sure it's safe, and then we can open.
Okay.
When are we gonna get this done?
Well, I mean, we're still having to wait for the monitor, so that's still on back order. So we still don't have an ETA on that, unfortunately. But really, it's relying on that. Once we get that piece of equipment, then we can really proceed forward. And if we needed to, we could get full shore to provide the chemicals should the Ecolab agreement, still be.
Okay, well, there's the two issues I'm hearing. So there's the Ecolab, which we've had, we need to bring out the contract and make sure that's done properly. But that's independent of this monitor equipment that's also back ordered. So either one of those two, either the monitor showing up or the Ecolab getting under contract.
So the splash pad just relies on that monitor coming in. So once that monitor comes in, regardless of the Ecolab agreement, we can get chemicals for it, test it ourselves, and then get the Florida Health to come in.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if the Ecolab with what they provide, if that included the monitoring of what they're,
No, it doesn't.
okay,
No, it
okay,
doesn't. No.
okay. So they're two separate issues, but they both,
Correct. Yeah,
okay.
you got it, you got it.
I have a request then. Can you please contact the supplier for this monitor and find out what the ETA is?
Sure, we can get a definitive date from them,
Thank you.
please.
Yeah, I would just say that with kids getting out of school and summertime is around the corner,
It's time.
I think this should be one of the highest priority items to try to get it working with healthy water where they can use it, even if we have to turn it on ourselves.
Right, well, is there anything that the board needs, is there any cost associated with that coming in, whether for installation, for the monitoring, for testing, that would need board action that we can take now as like a preemptive? Not to
Jorge,
exceed
would
basis.
the board needs to take action now for that monitor coming in? Like, is there any, so the people who are supplying it, do they include the installation? So the board's just trying to be proactive with this. So once that board actually comes in, the costs associated with installation and all that kind of stuff, is that taken care of? Right.
Installation wasn't included,
No, so it would just be the board. So then we'd be looking at getting installation for it.
But it's within the district manager or the chair's purview to be able to.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And everyone fingers crossed on that. Okay, that, I believe, that's everything for district council for now, Michael?
Correct. No further report.
Okay, next is district manager's report.
Okay, so first of
Oh,
all.
I have one thing,
Oh.
sorry, for the district council. Something that was discussed last month, but not addressed between is if we need to leave here and we need another meeting place, previous district council had advised against meeting at a facility that I own, even if there was no charge. Are you of the same opinion?
If there's no charge, I don't have that concern because the conflict of interest laws and the enrichment laws deal with when you are getting a financial gain. So I would not have that same concern.
All right, I'm just putting that out there, district manager.
Good to
I
know.
I'm
mean,
all for it.
Mark is all for it. Mark has been there. Dan has been there.
Very nice place.
Thank you. These two ladies have been
I
there.
already got my boots on. I mean,
Ample parking.
Can I ask one thing?
Yeah.
Before
we have
the
a-
district manager's report, can you move the microphone closer to him? Because I really can't hear him.
Yes, I will do that right now, Mark. I don't know if we have a lapel you guys can put on, or if we'll just make sure the.
But just
the
move
mic
that
is-
closer, yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
sorry.
He's having a hard time. Is
Okay, sorry, Mark.
that better, Mark?
Oh, much better.
All right.
So can I just add on to that conversation with regards to Carol's location or facility, I should say?
Mhm.
Is that something that the board wants to make a motion on to
Well,
potentially change at this point in time, or is it rather waiting till we see what happens with the location? Okay. Okay.
right. I don't know if there's been, I know last time there'd been some, we weren't able to get as much stuff staged because they were showing the model and
Right.
they're getting close to built out. So, maybe the clock's ticking on that, but good to know that we have an immediate option on
Okay.
top of the long term. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt everyone. I think too, if there's no issue with meeting at the ranch, then maybe the board wants to set into motion a start date there. Because I don't know how much time we will actually be given with the model home because, it could happen overnight. They could have it a weeks in advance, month in advance. But if there's no issue with it and the board is wanting to do that, then I would go ahead and set maybe a start date if the board is open to that. Just my thoughts.
Well,
Oh.
we need to publicly notice the meeting location.
Carol, would you check your microphone? You're not coming through anymore.
I think my battery. Is
There you
that
go.
better?
Yep, much better.
Sorry. I was saying that, we need to publicly notice the location of the meeting if it gets changed. So it's a good idea. Thank you, Angel, to discuss, when we might do that, I suppose.
My thought is, can district management reach out to Jones? I mean, we had, 8 people, residents showing up here tonight. It's, walking distance for some people.
Dan,
Yes.
I
go
will
ahead.
say to tag on to what Carol said, you're going to be approving your annual meeting schedule. And it's going to be cheaper for the district because we advertise all of your meetings at one time, which would start October 1. So even if you made a motion to start October 1 meeting in the new location, that way it's advertised all at once. Because if not, you're going to have multiple advertising fees if we do your meeting schedule there and then have to change it. So just keep that in mind.
You can also do it for your public hearing because you have to advertise for your public hearing for your adopted budget. So that would put it even closer and it wouldn't be an additional charge.
so my only thing is, why would we make a notification about something that we don't know that we're gonna go to that location yet? Like, we're not kicked out of here yet, right? I mean, could we make a motion to say that is our backup location if we get kicked out? Or, I mean, it's just one of those things where.
So I think it's been established that we have that option available and there's no legal, at least, issue from doing that. I think it comes down to, do we expect to be kicked out within fiscal year 25? Because
I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but sitting here looking at the presentation, it's not very professional. I've heard comments to that before. And I know that Carol has a very large meeting room that could be well set up so that we don't have, staff sitting behind the board. And it could actually be set up to make a very professional looking meeting. Not that you don't all look great, of course, but I think it would be a much more professional presentation.
So how about we just table it till the next meeting while our district manager finds out what our, what our options are for here and how long we can continue? That's just my
Yeah.
suggestion.
For setting the public hearing, that's happening tonight, or that's?
Correct.
Yes.
Oh,
Mhm. When you adopt, when you approve your proposed.
So
budget.
there is some immediacy versus
well,
re-advertising.
we're gonna have
of
to
changes.
advertise.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyway?
If you do, yes, so if you can, since you already have to run that advertisement, you can change your location.
Yeah, but we don't need to. We're gonna have to pay for
Mm.
the advertisement regardless of whether we stay here or move.
Right,
So-
but
You'll
if,
still have to do your other ones though after that
Yeah,
as well.
we're gonna have to do them
Right.
again, whether we move or not.
Mhm. Unless you wait till October and you do your, as Angel was saying, it goes all at once.
Can I just ask, I'm sorry, I said yes, it was okay before, but can you just confirm it's in Osceola County?
It is in Osceola County.
Then we're good.
it's within the DRI, right? It's
Yeah, but the
technically-
DRI is no
Sure.
longer, it's within the PD, I believe.
Okay,
It just has to be in the county. Thank you.
okay.
Sorry, for those of you DRI Act, which was a thing with the legislature when Harmony was first built, but then the legislature did away with that and they came up with the idea of development PD, but I believe that the property.
It's not as far away as some district meetings have been in the past.
Mm.
So. Okay, district manager report.
Okay. So you'll see on the agenda, we have the number of registered voters, which is on page 46. This is just more for informational purposes. And so for the record, as of April 15th, 2024, the Harmony CDD has 2,349 registered voters.
Anybody planning on running for seats 1, 3, or 5? No.
Yes, I am,
Okay, thank you.
but you knew that.
I knew that.
I'm happy to hear that.
So just to kind of give you some things that I've been noticing and been working on and potentially want some direction from the board. One of them was the golf maintenance facility, which we'll talk about that soon. There was a resident in Button Bush Loop that had seen someone on the water, on a watercraft. And I wasn't sure whether the board had discussed this previously about potentially putting signs up to notify residents of what is and isn't allowed, of, water contact, basically leisure more than anything. So that was something I wanted to kind of,
What kind of watercraft?
it would look like a kayak, 2 kayaks.
And it was on the detention pond?
Correct, behind Button Bush Loop. There's a pond behind there, so really the access is only via those residents that are around there.
No, people have actually parked in front of their houses and then gone behind their
Yeah, so-
houses and.
And I just wasn't sure whether that's something that the board had thought about, so.
I was just gonna say.
As long as it's
We've
not a
had
powered
signs up
vehicle,
before
I'm
and
happy
people
with
have
it.
just pulled them out. In years past, Mark, you may remember this, we had signs around some of our detention ponds, no trespassing, and the Florida statute was cited and everything. But people just ripped the signs out.
Yeah, I've had that happen to other districts as well. The Ashley Pool, when I was doing an inspection over there, I was, I guess, fortunate enough to meet Toho out there. They are going to require a backflow installed at the meter there. We should have, the letter should be coming any day now. This was last week that I spoke to them. So that's something that we, as the district, are going to have to put in. So it's a requirement now for commercial pools to have this. So a backflow will need to be installed there.
Howard, just so you know, Toho did reach out to me. You will have that at the celebration office probably on Tuesday.
Okay, great. Thank you, Angel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's already in place at the swim club?
Yes, it is. Is it in place at the swim club? Because he only mentioned the Ashley pool. No? The
Backflow.
backflow. Do you know if there's one at swim club? There is.
Okay, and
Yeah.
the
So,
splash pad? That's a pool too, right?
All he mentioned was he actually pulled. So
Okay.
I don't know whether Angel, your conversation, did that spark anything about just more than they actually pulled?
No, it was just in reference that they've done the backflow report and paper would be sent to us. We should have it in our office on Tuesday. No other facility at Harmony was mentioned.
Okay.
I think a splash pad because the water self-contained. If not, exchanging water with the water.
Okay. Gotcha.
The Toho bills, it was brought up, I think, at the March meeting that there was a large Toho bill. I've been going back and forth with Toho over this, and I finally kind of had a sort of a really decent conversation with Toho this afternoon regarding this. They were seeing, sorry, excuse me. They were seeing large spikes and then dips and then large spikes in the bills that were coming. Carol, you obviously alluded to this as well. So I can do more research on it to find out if these spikes are in fact errors, because some of them are quite substantial, from sort of $2,000 for 1 month down to $85 the next month. We looked at consumption, and consumption was dropping at these times. So I mean, I don't really have a definitive answer on this, but if the board would like me to continue looking into this, I can. It is on the project board as well, but it's based on consumption, and these are being actually read. I'm not really sure if there's anything else we can do, because we have looked into leaks into irrigation, or Benchmark has, and we haven't found anything.
Well, if it spikes 1 month and it's low the next month and there's no irrigation repairs, clearly it's not a leak. It sounds like it's some kind of reading error or something.
Well, I was thinking that too, Carol, and they're based on actual reading. So nothing is estimated.
No, I think Toho's having some issues because my water bill was really high in February, like triple what it used to be. And it was mostly the reclaimed water.
Right.
And the guy from Toho happened to come out because I had him look at my irrigation system and set the timer in that, because they'll do that. And he said, well, you just used more. And I said, my irrigation system was turned off during that time. So there's something wrong internally. And I've read a couple things too on a Facebook group, St. Cloud Rants and Raves. And there's a lot of people having issues with their Toho bills.
Right.
Because there's no rhyme or reason to them.
Well, I think
We got a letter, somebody got a letter, I'm sorry, about, but they said Harmony was excluded.
Oh,
But I heard that's not the case, that the people are having a lot of bills.
yeah.
I mean, as far as our direction for Howard, I mean, please continue, right? I mean.
Yeah, keep
Okay.
trying, but I think that they need to look inside their own system there.
And my own research shows it as well. I've seen it over
Yeah.
the last 2 years.
Yeah, there's got to be an issue.
It's, I mean, we're talking huge spikes here.
Yeah.
Yes.
This-
Ridiculous.
And that's what was, I couldn't understand why that was based on actual readings. I thought if we had an estimated, or, something along those
Right.
Or a known broken head that got
Correct.
fixed or something, but.
But then you look back and you go back sort of 18 months to 2 years, and these spikes are just, they're up and down.
Well, at one
And
time I was gonna try to go around and figure out, but it was beyond anything I could, because there was no rhyme or reason to it,
Now with Benchmark doing the sprinkler maintenance, I mean, is it possible that it just was a leak, a broken head or something that they observed or had that
Yeah, well,
we wouldn't have accounting of?
perhaps to provide context, the particular bill that was large that we're talking about, like sort of 2,000 down to $85, I think it was. That was a specific meter, so they looked around that area. That was their sort of starting point, and they just couldn't find anything. And so I don't have an answer
Okay.
for you. I mean, I can definitely continue reaching out to Toho and find out more about why these spikes are happening, and if there actually are spikes, or if there is something going on with the Toho billing, or potentially leaks.
Thank you.
Okay. We have an application from this is the soccer field. We have an application from Soccer Shots that came in for their summer program.
Denied. I'm just kidding.
There is two things I wanted to raise to the board about this. One was obviously, you know, the acceptance of this application. And two, within the Harmony Rules of Procedure for 2019, there is actually charges associated with using the soccer field, Buck Lake Pavilion, and so on and so forth. For the soccer field specifically, which is not on this application, we only have the deposit for $250. It's $50 per hour to use the soccer field. This current application doesn't reflect that $5 charge per hour. So-
You said $50 per hour, not $5 per hour.
Sorry, $5 per hour. Am I correct?
And I think in the past, Howard, the reason it's not on there is the board had waived that fee,
Right.
not the deposit, but waived the fee.
Well, going by again this morning after seeing a large crowd there last night, there was trash again. And, you know, it's trash every time. There wasn't a huge amount, but there was probably at least 15, 20 pieces of trash kind of all over the place. And it's a minimal fee, but it'll help recoup our costs and maybe, you know, I mean, it's it's quite a few hours that they're playing, and
yeah.
it's pretty minimal amount per hour from them. So I wouldn't mind.
I do have it here.
You just put a tip jar out there.
Goodwill company. They're doing.
I don't know if we should charge the Soccer Shots people. I mean, they're little kids out there playing. They're not the ones really damaging the soccer field. It's the
And how long is it for?
So we've got it's an 8-week season. They're looking at from 4:25 in the afternoon to 4:55, and then 5 to 5:30, and then 5:35 to 6:15. This is meeting once a week on Thursdays. So it looks like they got 1, 2, 3 sessions per week on a Thursday.
We're talking about like under $100.
Oh, yeah, correct. I mean, so.
For how many weeks?
8 weeks, hour and a half a week.
Yeah.
what are we gonna do with $100?
Yeah.
And that's starting
Buy a new
on
tip
June
jar.
the 6th.
Oh,
And
so
then-
it's just the week after next.
Correct. And then it ends on August the 8th. That is their last time. They're not doing any classes on July the 4th or July the 11th.
Oh,
Just
this is for.
Summer break.
Soccer shot.
camp.
Correct. Yeah,
Oh,
it's just a
Not the
3-year-old.
season,
Yeah.
okay.
That is correct, yes.
Well,
That'd be brutal to have season.
it's not just those people that pollute the
Right.
field.
So, I mean, do we need to take any action to, I mean, approve of that or?
I just wanted the board to be aware of what was in the rules of procedure and what the application currently reads, that we're, you know, that it's on the website. So they do have the $250 deposit. And it's really up to the board to provide direction if they would like to.
So Soccer Shots is a for-profit company, am I correct? And they charge, yeah, so it's not like our community kids aren't gonna get to play soccer. It's for those who can afford to go to soccer.
Correct. And I would.
I will
Sorry.
I'm sorry, if the board decides not, or to waive the fees, that's great, but I would start really considering withholding some of the deposit, especially with all the trash that's left out there. And they don't clean up after the fact, staff's going and cleaning up after them, so I would definitely consider withholding some of that $250 deposit every time.
Yeah, as
But are
long as,
they the ones
well,
that
as-
live in it right now?
well, as long as I mean, field services would have to take that action to, I guess, at least document that, hey,
Right.
this was after your approved use and here's all
Yeah.
this mess that was left. So here's why we're holding X from your
Right.
deposit.
My only other concern is setting a precedent by not charging a for-profit business for use of a community facility.
Right, so it sounds like there's a side issue here of maybe some of our material on the website needs to be harmonized with the rules. Hold on there, to correctly reflect what we have, but I mean, or since it wasn't on the application, are we, I don't know, are we able to do much about that now? I mean, Is that,
They can take your application.
Yeah, that would be something
But have
that
they already submitted it?
Yeah.
they've submitted. I think.
Yeah.
right, so I mean, if it's imminently about to start, I would be comfortable with approving them using our derelict soccer field in its current condition and being mindful of having field services be proactive to potentially withhold that deposit if they are indeed leaving it in worse condition than they found it.
And we
then-
do have a board member who lives right across the street, who could take some pictures.
And we have a volunteer.
I'm not sure I should be taking pictures of small children from across the
No.
street.
You're just taking pictures of the trash after they've left.
Okay. All right, so do we need a motion for that, or, I mean, that's,
No, because the district manager can approve it, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this to your attention more than anything. It's just something that's not reflected in the current language, so.
And we could also say after August 31st, we're gonna start charging.
well, I don't think we need to say that. We just update the
We could.
applications.
Oh.
Yeah, I would think we simply let them know that, hey, we're gonna deduct $5 an hour from your deposit at the end.
I mean, we're talking about $100, and if it was already, I don't know, that feels, yes, it's a
Yeah.
for-profit,
Yeah.
but it was already there. It was an oversight on the district's part for not having that properly documented. Yeah.
Right, but I think, yeah, if we update our application.
Right, let's get our paperwork and,
Like, come and want to apply to use things too, you know?
Right.
So we should start to recuperate
Let-
a little bit. of
yes.
The cleanup fee and that.
let's
yeah.
get our paperwork in order before.
Cool.
Anything else?
So that's just, we're going to update the application to include the $5.
Yeah, but not for these guys. that
Okay,
say-
right.
Right.
But moving
mean,
forward.
Or do we need to vote on that? I mean, Mark, you're the chairman, so.
We already have the rules, so it's
No,
not.
no,
as-
no, I'm happy with the district manager making the call.
Okay.
All right,
All right,
There was some discussion earlier regarding security cameras. Okay. There has been in the past proposals for security cameras. To my knowledge, they were throughout the community. There was also,
Do we need to have a closed meeting to discuss?
I don't think we should be discussing this.
I just want to know board direction. Does the board want to discuss this? You know.
Yes,
It can't hurt to have a discussion,
Right,
even
okay,
if we don't move
okay.
forward.
yeah, but it needs to be a closed meeting.
No, we can't.
that's the thing we
That's
can't.
the legal issue.
Right,
We can't talk about that at a publicly noticed meeting because that's defeating the purpose.
but we would have to have, I'm guessing, a shade meeting, Michael, is that what would?
Yeah, it's not really a shade meeting. What we would do is during our board meeting, we would just have a private session on the agenda where we would ask the public to leave, and then we come back into the public meeting. And if there were any votes that were taken, that would take place in the public meeting.
Okay,
Would that include cameras in the garden?
Again,
It's all-
we can't discuss it.
locations are,
You can discuss
Would
it.
that discussion include cameras for the garden? That's all. I'm saying.
Again, that's something that's not really appropriate to discuss
We-
now, but my suggestion to the district manager.
but it sounds like we,
They
Well,
were
I-
stolen.
You on a ladder.
They were stolen.
Myself.
They were stolen.
No,
But-
no, in your discussion, I didn't know whether you
Oh.
wanted to include.
That's something that-
right, well, the action
The
is,
locations are top secret,
Yeah.
okay?
Right.
The
But the
locations are top secret.
the action
We'll have to
is
kill
we-
you if you find out.
The action is we will discuss,
Yeah.
okay?
Right.
And that any such discussion will be private as required by law. Okay. The next item, is there anything else for?
No, I was
district
going to
manager
say I'm
report?
done, so please.
Sorry, I have several.
Okay.
I forgot to ask this during field services. Has the boat upholstery been replaced? On the pontoon boat, has the upholstery been replaced on the seats? But we were waiting last month. We were waiting last month.
We just waiting for one.
So 2 got done in the last month and 1 more is waiting.
We just waiting for the big.
Waiting for what? Oh, so they still have them. I see. Okay, thank you.
It's on the project.
Waste management, anything from waste management about the Blazing Star Alley?
I actually got a response, but what's been even more frustrating is that we both had a conflict and now it's gone dead again. So I will be contacting her again and again. So I've been contacting her every single day this week.
Mm.
And I will continue to do that because it sounded like she had some information for me, which I wanted to present to you, but it never came through, unfortunately. So I'm still working on it.
Thank you. Let's see, I have several things that have to do with the consent agenda, so I'll wait on those. But back to those parking signs on 5 Oaks that were no commercial parking signs that were discussed many moons ago. And then we left it, we had requested the district manager have signs installed that say no commercial parking on residential roads in Harmony. And citing the county statute to make it easier for the law enforcement deputies to enforce it. And then you and I had a couple back and forth and you said, oh, it's not up to the CDD to enforce. And I said, no, the CDD is not going to enforce it, but the CDD, if we put signs up, will make it easier for law enforcement to enforce it. So what's happening with it now?
To my knowledge, to go down that route, we would have to do, I think it's a traffic study. Or, sorry, no, let me back that up, sorry. To my knowledge, well, what was happened is that Mark had directed that he didn't want any signs because it doesn't make any sense for us to put them up. Plus being on county roads. So the county maintains the roads. And that was where I saw it.
I think Mike can comment on this topic as well. Mike, are you?
Yeah, I can, yeah. So the CDD does not have the authority to regulate parking on county roads. And that was the opinion that I gave. And we only have the ability to regulate it, even under the policy, I guess it was adopted by the board before my time, in a couple different parking areas that aren't in right of ways. And so even under your own policy, you don't have the authority to do it, and you don't have the authority to do it under state law. What you can do is you can petition the county to establish no parking zones. It sounds like what Supervisor Castle is saying is the county already has an ordinance that says no commercial parking, but really the CDD, should not be expending funds for regulation of parking on county right of way.
So I know the county in the past, they put up signs for the golf cart usage, which the signs were probably on CDD property, but the county put them there for the regulation of county roads. Is it something that we can petition the county for signage to help enforce the commercial parking issue?
Sure.
Appropriate. Okay.
Yes.
Can we direct the district manager to request those signs from the county?
You can.
Please.
All right.
That's all I have right now.
Okay. Anything else for district management?
No, good thing.
Okay, next item is under business items is the golf course maintenance facility. Mark, I don't know if you have anything to present or if that's going to be Michael.
Well, we have made an offer. We've not received a reply yet.
Wait,
It
how is
is significantly under the appraisal price. So we will see what happens there. I was on vacation for 9 days and then immediately caught COVID, probably in one of the 3 airports I visited. And I've been sort of zonked for the last few days, so I haven't followed up as much as possible. From what I have read, though, it's still not 100% clear that we can do it because of the issue of
Because you didn't
the.
ask us if we could make an offer.
Well, no, we at the last meeting, we did give him,
Correct.
Oh, yeah, we've
we?
made
No,
an
we
offer.
only authorized him to engage a real estate
Yeah.
expert
Yeah, agent,
to look at the issue much further, not to actually make an offer on
No,
an.
we've made an offer.
You made an offer, but the board has not approved any offer.
Well, I guess we'll find out when they make a response.
And in regards to follow up with what Mark just stated, not having any information currently right now, we're waiting on bond counsel to kind of answer some questions that are outstanding to see which direction the board can go if and when you decide to go this direction. So hopefully between now and the next meeting, we'll be able to have those answers definitively to be able to advise the board further.
Not only answers, those answers, but some realistic financial data as well.
Mhm.
And what I understand is that facility, which I haven't gone to see, is essentially just a metal shell, it's just corrugated metal. And there is no insulation and there's no, so it would, those financials would need to include hundreds of thousands of dollars of interior.
I would suggest you actually need to go see it.
And I'm also told that the air conditioning units in that facility need replacement. And that there are other functioning equipment that probably also needs replacement. So that would also need to be incorporated into an estimate of costs.
Yeah, we need to consider top to bottom. We need to consider all factors.
So I know we talked about this, it's a big purchase, but my question is, how does, as a board, I know Mark's the chairman, how do we go about putting an offer on something without agreeing to something? I'm asking the district council and the district manager. We didn't agree to that. We agreed to get a commercial real estate agent involved and start discussions. We didn't agree to put an offer in, and we didn't talk about what we're going to offer. So how does that go?
Here's my concern with that.
I wasn't asking you, Mark. I was talking to the district council and the district manager.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
From my perspective, and Angel, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But from my perspective, I mean, in order for there to be a valid offer, the board would have to either authorize that in advance, or the board would have to ratify it at a later date. And so neither one of those, it appears, has happened as of this point. And so I do think then really what's going on right now is some negotiations. But I would suggest, to the extent the board wants to be more involved, that it become an agenda item. And I get the concerns that people have in terms of negotiating strength and positions and all that, but we do have to comply with what the Florida law is.
And from district management perspective, thank you, Mike. But from the district management perspective, I wasn't aware. I know the board approved Mark engaging with the real estate person. So I think negotiation, as Mike just said, but I didn't know that there was any formal offer made. So that's, unless you did, Howard, I'm not sure.
That's the first I heard about it.
I think that goes for all of us. I mean, if there's no, I mean, the finances are not settled at all. So, I mean, any offer, I mean, would it even be contingent? I mean, I don't understand.
Well, of course, it has plenty of contingencies.
Okay. So it's as it stands as an agenda item on tonight's meeting. Is there anything more from council that we need to discuss or be made aware of?
The only thing that I would say is we expect to hear back from bond counsel within the next 2 weeks. I think it's taken a little bit longer because he's not your original bond counsel. He's probably 2 people removed from your original bond counsel, but he understands the issues. And his advice will really determine whether or not you can issue bonds and whether or not you can do a bank loan in lieu of bonds. And then we'll have to go from there. And if neither one of those 2 work, we'll have to look at some other alternatives at this point in time. So, and I'll just leave it at that. I've not been involved in any negotiations thus far.
Okay, do we have
I have a question.
yes.
Mark, were you going to share the details of this offer with us?
given that this is a public meeting, I'd prefer not to
No, I
share
meant
any strategy with the other side.
No, I meant with the supervisors.
That's,
I'd be happy to share it
Oh,
with the supervisors.
Yeah,
Send it
Well-
to management.
Well, that would have to be at today's meeting because you can't talk to the other supervisors outside of a publicly noticed meeting about this issue.
Do I have permission to give Angel the offer and that she gives it to the other 4 supervisors?
that's still sunshine, right? If it's, hey, tell this other supervisor this thing we're going to discuss.
If it's a public record, which it is, you can provide that to Angel and Angel can provide public records to the other supervisors.
Will do.
All right,
I was just curious, so,
we need to be in compliance. Absolutely.
right, that's more important.
Okay. Anything else on the golf course maintenance facility agenda item? All right, discussion of sidewalks. Was that?
Yeah. So there was a resident that reached out regarding the sidewalk on Buttonbush Loop. The sidewalk in question includes, where the apron is to the driveway, it's directly the sidewalk that continues the driveway, basically. So you drive your car over the sidewalk and into your driveway. The research that the management and field staff had done shows that this particular section of sidewalk is the responsibility of the owner or the resident. Outside of that would be the responsibility of the CDP. I had it when this came up. I think Mark was away at this time, and I spoke to Dan about this. He had concerns because he looked on the property appraiser site and he had concerns that it was the responsibility of the CDP. So really, I guess we kind of need direction here from perhaps district council on this.
Or the engineer.
Or,
Yeah, the engineer.
Well,
yeah, the lead.
So this is this has been brought to the board several times. It's Jason Weber, I think. Is it Weber? I think it's Mr. Weber.
Correct, yes.
So this has come before where trees were kind of lifting the sidewalks in front of his home, which the district did. That was part of the repairs that were made. And then into his driveway. So the sidewalk runs through his driveway and there's some cracks in it. And this has been brought to the board before, and it was determined, even though the district owns the sidewalks, that's through his driveway. And we weren't going to do anything because we would be getting on private property. Because even though it's a district sidewalk, it still runs through the middle of his driveway.
And what does our district council have to say about this?
Mike, I've never engaged Mike on it. I mean, I'm sure he heard it in numerous meetings, but when this came up, I didn't personally engage with Mike about it.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it and I can get with Angel afterwards if the board wants me to. But I mean, in most communities, the declarations provide that the driveway is the responsibility of the individual homeowner.
Okay, well, I mean, being standard, I mean, if we have, I don't know if there's any documentation we need to reference to, back that up to, close the issue with the resident. Is there, as a board, do we have any other?
Well, I would wonder, that whatever the tree that's doing this, is it a tree that's in his yard or a tree that's in the church? That's owned by the CDD. I mean, he has no control over a tree that's owned by the CDD.
Actually, that's probably not true in the sense that if it's on his, if the roots grow into his property, he has an affirmative duty under Florida law to cut the roots at his property line if he wants to prevent damage to his property. The roots are treated the same way as tree limbs. If a tree limb grows across your property line, you have the right to cut it at a property line. And you can't complain later if the limb falls on your house because you didn't cut it at the property line. So yet again, I don't know the specifics on there, but that's the general Florida law on roots and limbs.
Okay, thank you.
So I think the overall summary is that we're not gonna do anything about it. It's on your property with Mike's recommendation and,
There's legal
Back.
backing for our answer.
you're right.
Well, maybe Mike, you can just share whatever the statute is with Angel so that we have that for the resident.
I have a wonderful memo we've done on that before I can share.
Please,
Mhm.
thanks.
Okay, I don't know if we have anything else on that issue. Which brings us to item 5, presentation of fiscal year 2025 budget.
So we had a change late this afternoon.
Yes. So we had a change. I sent that email out to the board. It was between 5 and 5:30, so not sure who all was able to read that. So the reason it went out today is I wanted to update it with your current financials. Got that in there. And then as Howard stated earlier, District Council and Ecolab and Howard and the team have been kind of going back and forth trying to get that rectified. So that cost needed to be included. I was kind of waiting to see, because if the contract fell through and we weren't able to come to some sort of agreement, I wouldn't have had to put that money in the budget. So anyways, the only changes that were made to the budget from the last time this board saw it and today is repair and maintenance pools went from 45,000 to 60,000. That is the cost for Ecolab. That also leaves 15,000 in there for any maintenance and repairs between the pool, the splash pad, anything like that. That's what that does. The other items that were highlighted were, one, if you wanted to make that 15,000 increase kind of wash, you could remove the vehicle 15,000. If the board has no plan to purchase field vehicles this year. However, you probably will in the future, so I wouldn't recommend removing that 15,000. And then the other thing highlighted was the 412,000 contribution to reserves. And that was only a point of discussion to see, are you leaving that number the same, or are we going to increase it, or what have you? So the only change was adding 15,000 to repair and maintenance in the pool line. That's it.
So Angel, if I understand correctly, you're
Mhm.
saying that $15,000 is 1% increase. It represents a 1% increase, because I believe we were at 7.6% prior to that, and now the O&M increase with this additional $15,000 is 8.6%. Is that correct?
Let me look, I can tell you right now. So if I go back and change that.
Because that's what we were talking about last month in our meeting about, we were arguing about what the increase was going to be for O&M and what the overall increase was going to be. And we were keeping it at a reasonable overall with a 7.6 O&M increase.
Which was like 4% over.
No, taking that back down to the 45 that it was previously, Carol.
What
That
45?
that only brings you to 8%.
Well, it was 7.6% at the last meeting, so it's not just the $15,000 then. I'm gonna go back to.
Yeah, I can pull up the old one too. Hold on. I don't think I made any more changes.
Yep.
Well, the miscellaneous collection cost goes up every time we add or take away. It goes up and down, but let me look and make sure what the differences were. Hold on.
So, on line 232 of the minutes for the budget workshop from last month, it does say 7.6% increase. So it was 7.6%, and that's when the reserve contribution was 412,000.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how we ended up at 8%, or why $15,000 added a full percent onto the O&M increase, but we have to approve it. So can we just?
No, what do you mean you have to approve it? That's what we're talking about right now. You're approving your budget tonight. So if we need to make changes, we absolutely can still do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is since we have to approve it tonight, we need to understand what the changes were from the budget we were looking at last month to what you presented us with late this afternoon.
I'm pulling it up. 1 second.
And I think this line is wrong too. In the
Which
min-
one?
in the minutes for the board, for the workshop, line 256 says, have an O&M increase of 7.6%, but an overall increase of 1.6%. And I don't think 1.6% was correct.
No, that's not correct.
So that needs to be, it's another amendment to workshop minutes.
Okay. Okay, so 7.6%. Let me make sure what was changed. 412. 100.
And while you're looking at that, I'm wondering that since we don't have a contract yet with Ecolab, if we can just approve the budget as presented last meeting, and then because we know that it's possible, I mean, it may not go forward with Ecolab if they can't agree to the requirements that our district council is requesting, that we just take any additional cost for that kind of service out of fund balance.
The other change that was made is to R&M ponds. That went from 35,000 last month to 60,000 this month. That's a $25,000 change.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's actually the pools, Mark, line 85. I misspoke. It wasn't at 45 last meeting. It was at 35, and bringing it to 60 is what brings you to that 8.6% increase.
Why do we need 60?
It's 60.
Yeah, he's asking why we need it.
Why?
Because
Oh,
of Ecolab, because of the
Yes.
potential Ecolab contract.
That we approved at the end of last month's meeting.
correct.
But since it's not an assigned contract, I wonder if we could just go with the previous budget, and then if we end up signing the contract and move forward with it, we can just take that amount out of fund balance to apply toward that budget line item. Is that possible? Is that something that the board would?
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible, Carol, but also want to remind the board, as of right now, because of the projects that we did last year, you only have $60,000 in your reserves. So it is possible we can find the money, but just letting you know that.
Well, we're looking at putting 412,000 into reserves in this budget year, so I think
That is correct.
So I think we can,
I'm not in agreement with that statement
with which statement?
that we're looking to put 412,000 in reserves.
Well, that's what's in the current budget.
No, that's a number that Angel dreamed up. That is nothing to do with reality.
No, I didn't dream that up, Mark. The board put that in there at the last meeting. I
No,
didn't.
The board, you copied last year. We have 2 members of the board that want a big increase and 3 members of the board that want a smaller increase. Let's talk some politics here.
Yeah, you guys can change it. That's what we're here to do, but that's the number the board agreed on at the last meeting. That's why it's in there.
I certainly never agreed on it.
This is the workshop.
Yeah, it was at the
Yeah.
workshop, Mark.
You're
I
on-
mean,
You
we
all
didn't
agreed.
vote. We didn't vote because it was a workshop, but I will move to approve the budget presented at the April meeting for our 2024-25 budget.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. I mean, while we're discussing it, I was the one that asked Angel at the end of last meeting. We had this new contract for the pool chemical maintenance that we added. We're still in budget season. Can we be reflecting that? So all the numbers are published and everything versus us needing to pull from reserve. So that's my
Correct.
stance, is that if this is something that yes, there's the back and forth with legal, and we heard how, great they're doing in protecting our interests and everything. But if we have this on the table that we, a month ago, all agreed was a good thing to do for the maintenance of our pool chemicals, and we have a budget that we have not yet approved, to me, it should be in there. So I would
I
be.
don't disagree with that. I disagree with 412,000.
Well, that's a separate issue, I think. The motion on the table is for what we had after the workshop, which had the original number, pool number without the Ecolab, but had this, Mark, I mean, what we had done is the
Mark, you remember
reserve.
being here? You remember being here? You were here.
The reserve contribution was the dial that we turned to, most of these other costs they're either contractually determined or, mostly fixed costs. And the reserve contribution was how we determined, okay, well, if it's a 10% increase of O&M, here's the reserve contribution. If it's a 5% contribution, here's what that, the 412 number was what we came up with by the percent O&M increase that we all agreed to in the workshop.
Which was 7.6%.
Correct.
No, that's not the way I remember it. I remember Dan suggesting 4%. I remember Joe suggesting, I can't remember, was it 5%?
Favor of the 7.6, but first of all, I don't like doing it by percentage, I'll say that, but I was willing to go down a little bit to 5%, but I really think because there were no increases for so long, we're playing catch up. And again, I'll say the largest increase for anyone at 7.6% is $21 a month. So, and there's things we have to take care of. And I thought part of that $412,000 for reserves was a great deal towards the next repaving project too, which is going to cost over $800,000. So
It's there in the consent agenda, our discussion of this.
yeah.
And again, there was no vote because it was a workshop and we can't take votes during a workshop, but
It was 3-2.
it was what?
It was 3-2.
Well,
Yeah.
Joe came back in. She was out there for a little bit, but she,
No, I think
So-
it was 4-1.
oh, was it?
So regardless of if you guys want to add more to the reserves, take away, leave the same, that's perfectly fine. I do feel this contract is going through with Ecolab. The board discussed it at the last meeting. I did say that these numbers would have to be reflected if we all, if you all approved it. That is what the 8.6 reflects. Again, if that's not what the board wants to do, that's fine, but we will have to find the money for Ecolab when it goes into effect, and we're going to have to find it from, somewhere. So,
I think that's not going to be a problem
okay.
based on how we've operated in many years past, where we've had some expense that came up that we hadn't been anticipating and we found the funding. So, with ease.
But we are anticipating this. We know about this. It's right here. What would be unanticipated is if it falls through. And then, okay, well, then we would have a larger than needed line item for the pool maintenance. We can.
So my question is, if we're adding Ecolab, aren't we removing the other company
Yeah,
as maintenance? So wouldn't that roll off? I mean, we're not adding more maintenance to
No, they weren't maintaining the pool. Your staff does that. All Pool Shore does is provide chemicals. And chemicals are included in Ecolab, which we still would have had to increase that. You had a $35,000 line item for previous that did any maintenance that needed to, or repairs that needed to be done to the pools or splash pad came out of that line, as well as the chemicals from Pool Shore. So yeah, you are eliminating the Pool Shore chemicals, but we're adding this contract, which is still going to leave you about, I think, Howard, it's 15,000 for any repairs and maintenance that would need to be done to the pool and the splash pad.
That is correct.
So I will
Okay.
amend my motion to go with the current budget, except reducing the reserves from 412 to whatever $25,000 less is. So what would that be?
So-
13,000 to 487, 387. That way we remain at the 7.6% increase. But we're covering the Ecolab contract. That's my amended motion.
Does the second accept that amendment? That was you, right, Lucas?
Mm-hmm.
And then Mark gets something out of it.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay, so the motion has been amended and the second approves. I was
I
gonna
would
say the
like,
same-
can I
Go-
point out something?
Go ahead, Mark.
If you take $25,000 out of our projected, we still have 1,100,000 $50,000 at the end of next year. I'm sorry, but this board has increased fees to residents by a huge amount the last 2 years. I am entirely in favor of getting to the point where we simply agree to increase fees the rate of inflation. Any more than that, and my vote will be no.
And we discussed last time that our plan is to do that, but next year.
However, Mark, the rate of inflation is not even across the board. Sometimes new construction cost is going up at 10% and groceries are not going up at all. The rate of inflation is all of those things, the average of all of them. So just tying it to the rate of inflation, I don't think is a wise way to do it. I think we have to take the dollars of what we need and what we think we're going to need and go from there. Like I said,
Let
I
me
don't
put
like
this
doing
out there. The 5 of us are reasonably well-to-do. Okay? That's not necessarily true of a lot of other people that live in Harmony. I'm really trying to look out for them because, you know, it's becoming an extremely expensive place to live. I like living here, okay? But, you know, I don't want for money. And, you know, we really need to look out for the residents who are being squeezed. And that's why I'm saying we need to keep this to 3.5%.
And that's why I am so confused, Mark, because you want to purchase a golf maintenance facility for over $1 million that will increase the bond amount on everybody by a considerably higher amount. And so it doesn't, I'm confused. I don't understand how you could be so for keeping it low for this budget year, but looking at issuing a bond that everybody's going to have to pay for many years. So be that as it may, I think it's maybe time for a vote unless there are other.
What I would add to the discussion, again, I think the board is still in agreement that what we're talking about here is just the reserve contribution. Everything else in the budget, everything else that really moves the needle has all been settled. The question of this, you know, Ecolab being a last minute addition that we've now accounted for by dialing back the reserve contribution, which we all have been in agreement is, you know, where that adjustment needs to happen. Sounds like, I mean, we're potentially relitigating the discussion we had at the workshop where it's, you know, what percentage increase are we aiming for based on that reserve contribution? And what we had in the recorded minutes from that discussion, we had, Mark, you had wanted a 305,000 contribution. I had said 370. Joe had said 345, but would support 412 so we could have consensus and move forward with a proposal. So what we have right now is, again, that consensus dialed back to closer to the number I had put out there, which accounts for, we've now added this Ecolab.
So it would be 387 for the. reserves.
387 would be our contribution. So we'd still,
Okay.
do we have any other discussion on?
We make that
I'll-
change and make sure it's what you all want it to be. So if we put 387,
In reserves, and the $60,000 you put into pools, R&M pool,
mm-hmm.
and we should still be at 7.6%.
Okay, hold on one second. I just want to make sure.
And just, that's 7.6 is just on operations and maintenance.
Yeah.
Right. So when bond contributions are taken into account, that's closer to,
I don't know, 3.5 or 4%.
it was about 4, I think, which was, again,
Well,
Yes, that brings you to 7.6% by changing putting 387 in your contribution to reserves and leaving the R&M pools at 60,000.
and what's the overall, Angel?
Overall for expenditures,
No, overall assessment increase, including bonds, debt service?
it's a 7.6% increase, and then overall, I can see it here.
the smoke coming from your keyboard.
I know, sorry. 4% overall, including, your debt service. So it's a 4% overall, but just operation and maintenance is 7.6.
And I think we had all were in agreement that yes, for a healthy functioning district that is not being built out anymore, that is just maintaining existing facilities, that, a slow increase that generally matches consumer price index or inflation or whatever metric we want to use, that's our goal. And overall, we're basically reaching that goal when you consider people that are still, paying off the bond, which is the vast majority of residents. So I'm happy with that. I think we're ready to call the question.
Well, one more comment.
Yes, Joe.
When we discuss all these numbers, we really don't have a lot of discretionary income in our budget. The things that we can really say yay or nay to. Most of our things we have to do, like the pool maintenance and all the things that we take care of are required by law. So
Right. And we have the workshops, which is where, if there are, we feel, we have a paving project coming up potentially that we're going to get more engineering input on, but that could easily consume most of that reserve we expect to have at the end of the year if it needs to be done next year versus a year or two down the road. So I
and
think
didn't we have a large expenditure last year for the
C1C2 alleyway.
yes, yeah, wasn't that a couple
Yeah,
$100,000?
no, that was $660,000.
So that more than wiped out what we put into reserves last year.
Right. So
Yeah.
made the hard, we had the bitter pill we had to swallow with catching up and being able to afford ongoing maintenance projects like, alleyway paving every 15 years, things like that. I think we're happy with, are we ready to call the question, I think?
Please.
All in favor of the motion as put by Supervisor Castle
And revised.
and revised to adjust the reserve contribution to offset the increase for the Ecolab contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Okay,
Nay.
the budget,
Nay, that'll do.
okay, the budget passes 4-1 with Chairman Lemender in opposition. The next item on the agenda is, pardon me,
Resolution 2024-09.
to approving the budget and setting a public hearing thereon. Is there any other?
So moved.
All second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, now,
Wait, we haven't heard from Mark.
Mark, do you approve
nay.
Nay.
Okay. Motion passes 4-1 with Chairman Lemender in opposition. Consent agenda. Supervisor Castle's already provided some feedback. You have some other?
Yes, I have a couple of other things. Let's see. So one thing was in the minutes for the last meeting, line 472. Ms. so I had asked how repairs and maintenance, other landscape is different from miscellaneous services, and Ms. Montagna requested a report for those line items to see what is coded there. And I'm wondering what happened with that. Of course, that's kind of, maybe that's a supervisor's request or a follow-up for the district manager that I should have asked before.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll just remove that for now. And
Okay.
I'll just say, there
I can
was-
answer it.
Go
I
ahead.
can answer it for you. Sergio is sending that to me. They did a bunch of reclassifications and then he wanted to send me the final. So I'll be able to send that out to you hopefully tomorrow. I was hoping today, but he wasn't able to get it completed. But
Okay.
we'll get it out to you.
Okay, and then I've already shared with you, Angel, some amendments to both the workshop minutes and the regular meeting minutes. Now there is, last time we talked about a minus $642 user facility revenue in our financials, and now it's $942, I think, and you said you were going to look into why it was a negative number. I haven't heard, and now it's even higher. It's not a lot of money, but I still don't know why, and I would like to know why.
Yes, we'll get that answer for you. I wasn't able to get that answer, but you're right. I've already emailed the thing. I don't know why it's there. I don't even know that anything should be going there. So I'm not sure why it's a negative, but we'll get you the answer. The board, sorry.
Okay, and we've already talked about the Toho bills, which Neil, Mr. Neil is going to look into. Otherwise, I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I'll second it. And any other discussion? Calling the question, all in favor?
I
Aye.
All right, supervisor requests.
I would like to introduce Terry Henley to the board. Mr. Henley had attended the last HROE meeting, Residential Owners Association meeting, and had put his name in for a board position. And in his introduction, he had mentioned that he has, in his doctorate, he did some research on financial stability and CDDs. I took a look at that research. And he is works at UCF. He has his doctorate is in public administration, and that's what that's the area he teaches in. And we've had a discussion. I proposed to him to run for my seat, or for me to run if I would, and then hand my seat over to him, resign, and ask the board. But anyway, he's declined to do that. However, he did offer to provide some useful consultation to the board regarding several items, not only financial, but also goals and evaluations. So I'm wondering if we could just open it to Mr. Henley for a moment so he can discuss, or he can tell us what he may be willing to do for us.
I don't see a problem with that. Anybody else?
No, great.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors, 7040 Button Bush Loop. And I was not the resident on Button Bush that complained about the sidewalks, but I did put a sidewalk request in about a year ago. So I work at the University of Central Florida in the School of Public Administration. I teach several public financial management courses, land use planning, project management. I have experience in state and local government more than decades. I don't miss doing those budgets, what you're doing right now. That stuff's not fun. But what I do have fun is training. So students getting their bachelor's degree in public administration, as well as those who already have degrees and are in service, in public service, working in local government or nonprofits. I train them for advanced degrees to get master's degrees to help improve their agencies. So what thank you for inviting me, Carol. I did consider the seat, but I'm not really a politician. I'm a trained administrator. What we offer at the School of Public Administration is a service learning program. Many nonprofits and many local governments take advantage of this service learning program, where you can engage with our students and they could do projects like strategic planning, performance measurement, and that's going to be headed. Strategic planning is a comprehensive report of performance measurement, which you'll be required to do. It has its genesis in GIFRA in 1993 with federal government. And when the federal government does something, then states follow, and then it trickles down to local governments and our special districts. I like to infuse special district information in my coursework because 2 to 1. There's 800 cities, 800 CDDs in the state, about approximately 400 cities, and students don't know about these. Even the people who moved down from up north are moving here. They don't know what CDDs are. So, in short, I'm going to be at the Special Districts Conference. I hope Infomark's there June 10th in Orlando for the Florida Association of Special Districts. I'll be offering our programs at that conference to those interested. And I thought, hey, my CDD should also take advantage. So students would have to agree to work with you, and you would agree to work with students. There's no cost. They could do things like strategic planning, apply for grants, internships, and special projects. If you want something outside of like a student work, working with faculty, that's a different story. But the community service work with students is available. Should you want like a workshop or something on performance measurement or something like that, or financial condition analysis, which our master's program does, I'd be happy to entertain some of that as well. So
I'd like to just hear from district council to make sure this is something that's legally viable. Mike?
Yep, it is. If the board wanted to do that, you certainly could. One of the powers you have is recreation, cultural, and educational. And I think this would fall within educational. It would also fall within you managing the finances of the district to the extent that there can be some suggestions made, by either the students or the professors. I think it sounds like a good opportunity for both parties.
Thank you, Mike. And I'd like to, I think the board, I know I would appreciate, I'm guessing the rest of the board would appreciate some kind of like written proposal about what it looks like for us to work with the students and the students to work with us. So we have a clearer understanding of what they're going to do and what our obligation is and expectations are on your part from us, and what we can expect from them and you supervising the students in this project. So I think that would be really helpful.
right, there will be a service learning contract. The student signs it and what they're going to do, and through the management company, the board gives the approval. I can put you on the list with the other local governments who have interest in this area, and the students just pick from a list, and I'll encourage them to pick CDDs. So yes, there will be a contract, service learning contract.
And involvement with management.
Right, but I think the board would appreciate seeing what that looks like in advance.
Sure.
Yep. And would like to hear about the thing happening in June too, if that's, before our next meeting.
Okay, June 10th, the Florida Association of Special Districts.
Do you have a card you can give Howard so he can reach out to you to get that date so we can get it to the
About
board?
my sidewalks or about this?
So you can share that date with the board.
Can I put in my 2 cents? Terry,
Yes, sir.
I would, well, hello. I would very much like you to reconsider becoming a member of this board at the next election. I think you would be a spectacular addition. And to be clear, we are not politicians. We are people who love harmony and want to do the best for it. So please reconsider, because you would be a significant asset to this board.
nonpartisan, as you know, so.
I've already gave
Yeah.
several nudges and even registered my disappointment that he has, well, to this date, actually, as of Monday, declined, but maybe we can persuade him.
Keep badgering him.
We could pursue, I could entertain it again, I'd really like students to get exposure to this. So I think if I were to run, I don't think it would probably work on my CDD if I were to be elected. So Harmony would probably be taken off the table for the student projects, should I reconsider, but.
Well, the election's
Or
not
maybe they
until
can work with
November.
another professor.
Well, June's when you need to.
Well, you need to,
Oh, put your name in that.
yes, you need to qualify between June 10th and June 14th.
right.
So if he does decide to run, then he would have to do it by then. He would have to put his name in by then.
Yep, I forgot about that minor detail.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question for Michael. In order to qualify, do I have to fill out another financial disclosure, or is the one I did in January okay?
If you're running for this time, I would imagine you'd have to fill out the paperwork that they're going to require to register to qualify. So they're probably going to want you to prepare another financial disclosure.
Okay,
But I can
thank you.
find that out. I can find that out for sure, because I know the transition from the supervisor of elections to the Commission on Ethics has not been, we'll say, smooth. But we can find that out and let you know. That's just a
All right.
simple phone call.
Thank you.
Yeah, or you can call the supervisor of elections and find out too. So that way we
I'll
don't.
just drive down and say hi to him.
There you go.
Okay.
It
Well, then
sounds like-
I won't make a call.
And you're
Thank you,
so
Mike.
organized, Mark. I'm sure you kept a copy of what you sent in before.
And I believe
doubt it.
if you have to do a financial disclosure, it's going to be based on last year's income anyway, so you can probably use the same information. Is my guess,
Same
but
calendar
check
year.
with the supervisor of elections.
Yeah, I'll drive down I'll drive down when I test negative.
Yeah, there you go.
That's, any questions for Terry before he?
Oh,
Stands
really
down.
appreciate. And yeah, I mean, HROA CDD, you would absolutely be an asset. And your input, even as it is now, is very much appreciated.
Yeah, now I'm self-conscious about all the stuff I said. I didn't know we had professionals sitting there.
I'm very grateful for your public service. It's an unthankful job and it can be very hard on this other side of the table. So thank you for your service and thank you for the vote of confidence. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks, Terry.
Terry. Much
Thanks.
Appreciated.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Any other supervisor requests?
Well, I just have a question I forgot to ask before.
Sure.
Did the garden shed get ordered?
So what we're waiting now is none of the vendors that we had would do the permit for us. So the engineer's looking at what permits were required to get it done. So I spoke to.
Cook shed.
Yes, and they increased the floors that you talked about to make it stronger. I was also able to get another $250 discount off that as well. So that was even better. So basically I was allocated $4,500. We're around $4,000 with the shed. So we've got about $500 to get that permit into place. So just waiting for, I did a lot of the preliminary work for the engineer and they're just going to carry it through and get it done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long been waiting?
Months.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's been about 8 months. Yeah, the wheels of government turn slowly or something.
Very slow. Oh, my
But
goodness.
if we're permitting, hopefully the end is in sight.
Yeah.
So, all right.
That is correct.
Any other supervisor requests?
Move to adjourn.
I just had one more comment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neil, please get the fountain working.
It's Howard Neal.
Mr. Neal.
Howard, please get the fountain working.
You mean the splash pad or the fountain?
I think you need
Yes,
a flash pad.
I promise.
Yes.
okay.
The curse of having two first names. All right. Thank you.
All the time.
All right. I will second the move to adjourn.
Wait, does anybody else have supervisors requests?
All right. Hearing nothing further, I've seconded the move to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
everyone.
all of you for
First-
coming and staying.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
very much.
Oh.
Thank you.
Here,
Thanks,
Mark.
Angel. Thanks,
Thanks,
Mark.
Angel.
Thanks, Mike.
It's a lot more fun doing this when you can sit here and sip on whiskey.
Yeah. How's it in the peanut gallery, Mark?
Looking at IT, I know we did this on IT.
Yeah, you're having